3, C, and T for each one of those. So what we're going to do is, starting today, we're going to deep dive into most of the activities that you will do as a quality assurance person. Right? So this is an empty test case template. Remember we started talking about in test plan document, various things that you need to consider in order to write a test case. So this is a blank template. Let's go quickly over the blank template, and then we will actually write one. Right? Most of the companies will have some similar things. They will have either template or they will use the tool where they will capture the information. At the basic, you need to capture some set of information that allows you to talk about, hey, what is the input going into the functionality that you're trying to test it? What is the expected outcome? And how does that fit into overall picture? Okay. So you will have something which talks about, hey, what is the project for which you're writing the test case? So remember, like if you look into that estimate that we created, there's probably hundreds of test cases you're going to have for this one, right? And you need some way to figure it out to keep it that straight and assorted in manner, right? So the typically you do it is you identify the project name and the functional module name. So if you look into our flow, right, there are 7 different functional modules, but when you look into detailed design document, it was also broken down into the actual implementation components. So you identify which way it is, then you talk about who wrote the test case, when it was wrote, if it is kind of a different version, what the versions are. When you run the test, you want to capture that metric, is hey, when did you run last time, what was the results, and so on. Then the test priority. Remember we talked about high, medium, low priorities for the test case, right? Where does this fit in? Is this a higher test case, low test case, or it's a medium priority test case? Then some sort of numerical convention of what is the number. But more important is title, because we human are probably not as good as a number when it goes into thousands of things, right? But it's much more easier if you talk about, hey, I'm doing it part of the dealer approval, lender approval functionality. So some sort of an English title for it. Then the next section talks about the precondition. If you recall it, we talked about when we were talking about the test cases, is that given the state of the system is same, as long as you provide the same input, you should get the same output. Remember that repeatability aspect of it? So I need to identify, hey, what is the precondition? What must be true in order for me to run this test case?
Can you give us an example?
We'll talk about example as we go through. Okay. Then it's a dependency. What are the different things I'm dependent on in order to run this test case? So for example, if you talk about the lender approving or rejecting, one of the things is that, hey, it should fire off an email notification to the dealer. So in those scenarios, hey, I'm going to be dependent on the email system. Okay. Summary is high-level description of what you're trying to accomplish in that. Then you talk about the step-by-step instruction. In order to run this test case, what do I do first? What do I do second? What do I do after that? And for each step, the test step, I want to identify, hey, if I do that, what should I see in the system as a response? Right? So what is my expected result when I take that action? Okay. And then when I actually run it, then you capture what exactly the result I'm seeing it when I run it. And are they same? If expected results and actual results are not same, then you know something is wrong. Okay. It's either a bug or any other activity. Then you have a test data. In order to run this, what kind of information I need? Remember we talked about one of the section into the test plan document is you need to identify where the data is coming from, right? So you need to identify in order to run this test, what information I needed. So if I'm creating a credit application, there's tons of data that I will need. So this is the place where you capture those data. Post-condition talks about if this test case is successfully executed and no error is found, then what should be the condition of the system? What should be true? Right, so for example, like it's when you do, hey, 2 plus 2. And if I provide that to the calculator, at the end of the day, my display should show 4. That's what's the truth is. Okay. Status, talks about whether this test case is planned, executed, failed, passed. So what is the current state of this test case? Okay. And then if you want to write any other notes. So let's write one. Let's start with the most simplistic thing, right? Which talks about a login system, right? So what is the first thing you need to do into R4, right? As a site administrator, you need to log in to create anybody in it, right? So let's start from there, right? So I'll create this. Okay. Don't worry about writing anything. Just pay attention here. We'll get that later. And then that will be part of security module, right? Because I'm trying to figure it out whether I can log in or not, right? So whatever the authentication authorization is, right? Let's say we're going to get the first version, this is not going to be applicable because I'm not running it. Okay. I'm going to put high because if this doesn't run, nobody can log in into the system. Like it just put a number, but I'll just use T and then followed by a number of whatever the number typically is, right?
So this, the project name is R1, but so is modules for this?
So remember, R-Flow has a whole bunch of modules,
Yes.
right? Could be a security which allows me to validate or allow authentication using that. There could be a dealer module which deals with all the dealer functionality.
So
There
each
will be a
module-
lender, so there will be each module.
We have to do its template like fill out.
No. This is the same template you use for everything.
Oh,
I'm talking about this specific test case that I'm doing. It belongs into our Flow projects as part of the security module, and this is the detail for that.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I don't remember what this process means.
High, medium, and low. High is, I need to run this test case. This is important for me to test the functionality of the system. Medium is, it's good to have it. The low is, if I'm run short on the time, if I don't run this might be okay. Right. So what functionality I need to, what do you want first, is the always highest priority.
Is it supposed to be in order, let's say, test case and then test title, and you just mix them up or something?
Yeah, this is a template, remember. When you use the tool, this all are form and field. You can fill in whatever way it is. But in order to create test case, you need this information. That's what that is. Okay? Right, a lot of times you call site administrator, right? So I'm trying to do a test title is that, hey, I'm going to try to validate if given that I have a right user ID and a credential, I can log into the system. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay. So in order to do that, that user has to exist in the system. If it's not, I can't log in, right? Because there's no user ID password. So that's my precondition. So if you're looking for an example, this is what it is. Okay. In this case, I'm not going to be dependent on any external things or any external component. So I'm going to just say, hey, I'm not dependent on anything. So I provide a lot more detailed description. This tells me that this is a positive test case, right? Because I'm giving them the user ID and a password, and then I should change the word to valid. Because that's how the terminology fits in the system. Okay, good so far? Any questions on this page? Now let's go. Okay, let's talk about this step. What is the first thing I do? You will do it whenever you want to log into any system. You just speak out loud. This is too loud.
Username and password.
What is the first thing you do?
Website.
Action wise.
Website.
Go to the
Go to the website.
Go to the home page, right? Whatever the home page is. Right? You have to perform some sort of action. That's what you're doing, clicking. Yeah. Okay. So, if I give you, you have enough information to go to the home page?
No,
What do I need?
you need the URL.
You need the URL, right? So that's the data. Okay, so that's my test data that I need, right? So, okay, what is the application URL for our flow? Are you guys guessing? Did you bother looking at your folder? So go into the exercise page. Okay, keep flipping it till you encounter a page, exercise section. Which one is exercise section?
Second tab.
The first tab.
Second.
First tab, right? So you go here.
Is it R4 training or cloud app?
Did you find it?
Yeah. So if you flip it, exercise right after the first exercise that I taught you to do it, right behind that, there is a page which talks about all the data. Did everybody get it? This is the exercise, remember? Did everybody got it? Okay, so what is the URL? Can anybody tell me?
R1 training.cloudapp.net.
Okay? So, what should be the result when I do that?
The web page should load.
Good? What do you do next?
Now go to the login.
What do you mean by go to the login?
I mean,
Sign in.
sign into the
Click the,
username and password.
click the login button.
Think about action.
Click that login link.
So if I go to the home page and if I click on login, will I be logging in?
No.
What do I need to do?
Enter the username and
Right.
password.
So, again, remember, all the test steps should be some sort of action, right? So here I'm entering the user ID and a password, and then clicking the login, right? So I'm performing some action. Now, what do I need it for this?
So the word enter and click means.
Yeah, those are action,
the
right?
actions,
That you're doing something, okay? What data I needed?
The username and password.
So what is the username and a password?
STRAINING.
Is this right?
I mean, see, there are a lot of usernames for different users. User ID, super user,
Like this?
So why did you guys pick this user?
Because that's what we're testing for.
Okay, so that's a site administrator user, right? So that's what you're gonna be using. If
Okay.
you are testing the rfrep login, then you will be putting in rfrep login information. Right.
Okay, so what should I see it as a result?
You should be able to log in with those credentials to move on to the next page.
But what should I see?
Site
Successful.
administrator homepage.
Right. Okay, but before that, something else happened in the system. Can't type it this way. Right, this is what happens. Hey, it will not display unless I'm successful. It's a behind the scene that actually happens, and then I see that. Okay. What happens next?
I don't know, I might be wrong, but, I mean, when you enter, there's, they might forget the password or username. Do we have to write a text step for that too?
What is the condition I'm testing?
Oh, yeah.
What will happen next?
That functionalities which they can perform, all those functionalities can be displayed.
So what is the test step? 3, that's what I'm asking. Is there a test step 3?
No, because we were testing to see if they could log in.
Precisely, right? That's the only thing I'm focusing
Oh.
on. Okay? So the key thing for the test case is not write all the possibilities under the sun. Focus on exactly what you're looking for it, and then just do only that. Okay? In this case, I'm just validating it. If I give you the right credentials, can I log in as a super user or not? That's the only functionality I'm testing. So I should just write it only those two and just finish it. Okay? So then what will be the post condition? that's it. You finished writing your first test case. We just save it. That's it. It's done. Okay, so this is simple test case. Now you need to think about different scenario. How do I know what do I write it, right?
Yeah.
So what test cases I write it? Right? So think about this one, right? So we talked about one of the scenarios is super user login. Right? Now within this, we did just one, right? So I have valid data. Right? I gave you a right user ID and a right password. What are the different other things?
Invalid.
Invalid, right? So invalid, so there's two possibilities in invalid, right? So one is invalid password. Other one is invalid user ID. Right?
We both have invalid.
Okay, so let's talk about the scenario of both invalid. If I do this three test cases, do I need to write the fourth one which says both invalid? What exactly it will give me?
They are included in this.
Right. So remember we talked about don't write it redundant test cases.
Yeah.
If I don't need it, then you should not unnecessarily add, because it doesn't add any value. As long as this three are working as expected, you don't need the fourth one. Good?
So the one we did, that one is for the valid data, correct?
So we did just this one,
Not that one, okay.
right? So if you need to write, you can you write now this term? There is nothing called try. Can you write it? It's simple, yes or no. Remember, it's a testable condition. Given what you know, given what we taught, can you write this to test cases? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So you know how to write test cases. Now let's talk a little bit more. This is a very simplistic scenario, right? Let's take a complex scenario. So on Thursday we talked about this, right? Managing dealer shop, and we should be able to search existing dealer, right? So let's talk about that. Okay, so this is the requirement, okay? So, the first thing you need to figure it out is, hey, if this is the requirement, how many test cases I have? Just like we draw it for the super user login, right? So, let's just figure it out. This one, right? So what is the functionality here? I need to be searched, right? By dealer name, address, right? The Herschel talked about a little bit more about it, yes, on Thursday. So how many test cases you guys think you need? In order to test this requirement, just like what I did it for the login, right? Login is 3 test cases. How much you need it here?
At least 2, and then if,
So how did you come up with the 2? Why did you come up with 3?
First name, last name, and then zip code maybe, I think.
Okay,
Address.
so let's say first name, last name, and then zip code. What about you?
oh, okay, so I was doing 2, and then whatever the et cetera was, if we had to add that.
So here you're talking about name,
Yeah,
address, right? And then whatever that ETC comes. Okay. Herschel, what did you say about ETC?
Name and address.
Just name and address.
Yep, and the address is street address or city or zip.
So how many test cases you need? So if address is this set of information.
5, oh, sorry, 1,
5?
4, 5.
5, 4,
Four.
5, 4, 4. Let me flip a coin. Okay. How many?
I said 4 because it was name, street address, city, and zip code.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Same?
I agree with that.
Everybody agree? Okay. What if I say you're not right?
It might not be so.
So let's talk about it. Okay? So, let's start with a name. Okay? And address. Everybody agrees that there are 2 main categories.
Yeah.
Okay. Within name, you say first name, last name. Is dealer gonna have a first name, last name?
It's gonna have a, like a,
Brand maybe?
with a number, with
Simple question.
a, no.
Is dealer gonna have a first name, last name?
No.
No.
Why not?
Because the dealer is the owner of the-
Okay, so, this can happen, right? Okay. Okay, so let's question. Do you guys use Google for search
Yeah.
Every day.
every day? Okay.
Yeah.
So, let's say if I search on Germain Honda, I'll get results, right? Yes, no?
Yes.
What happens if I just search on Germain? Will I get a result?
Yeah,
Probably know what you
It'll
want.
What is the difference between
it'll
those
be
two
a
search?
broader search than a more specified.
Right, but what is the difference in my criteria that I provided? What is the difference between Germain Honda and Germain?
Looking for a particular car.
You did allow
No,
more specific,
dealer, sorry.
a brand maybe? More specific name.
Let's forget, I think it's getting in the wrong. If you search on Dilip Patel, and you search on Dilip, what is the difference between those two searches?
I mean, Dilip Patel is a full name and Dilip is the first name, so that.
Okay, so one is full,
Mhm.
other one is partial. Right? So is there a possibility that when I search on a name, I may give the entire name, or I may just give the partial name? Because it's still dealer, right? Is that what you're expecting, Mr. User? Can search by entire name or
Yes,
partial
you
name?
should be able to search by partial dealer names.
Okay. So now I need to worry about,
So I can type in either partial or full name. I should be able to find the matches accordingly.
are you with me so far?
Yes.
Are you expecting a response back if I don't provide any username or any dealer name and click search?
I expect the system to show some type of error message if they don't supply any of the criteria.
Okay. So it's a name, address,
So if they don't supply any, if
And
the
no
user
criteria.
does not supply any criteria,
all times you will say is no input data. Okay. Let's talk about the address. Indicated the address is gonna be the street address or city or zip code. So I'm gonna have street address or city or zip code. Can I do the same thing with the street address and city, partial, full?
no, they need to match
That
exactly.
should full, okay,
Yeah.
good. What about,
Street
the-
can be partial, but city and zip code.
okay, so the street can be partial, okay? Okay. What about zip code? Do I have to enter the valid zip code only? What happens if I enter an invalid zip code?
The system shall not display any. If they don't enter the correct zip code,
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't expect to see the result based on the zip code.
Am I gonna get a error message, or am I gonna say there's nothing matched?
No,
with that zip
no
code?
match type of message, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I need to worry about, like, if I write the search zip code, it should get a valid result. If I put an invalid zip code, I should not get anything back.
So why, wouldn't that be the same case with the city though? If you don't put the valid, like specific correct city?
Ah, is there an invalid city name anywhere? Is there a city name has to follow certain rules? Zip code, I know it has to follow the rule, it has to be only numeric, and it has to be only 5 digits.
Okay, I'm talking about like.
City code, I can make whatever name I want.
Okay,
Okay?
makes sense.
So there is nothing called valid and invalid city name. It's just that either I have a city name or I don't have a city
Okay.
name. Okay. Now, are you expecting only one or the other, or you're expecting one or more? So in other words, if I search it, let's say Germain Honda, in the city name I put a Dublin, is that a valid? Or I can put only Germain Honda, or I can put only Dublin? Is a combination allowed?
They need to put all either name or address information,
So it's either or.
either or, yeah. So either I put a German Honda or I will put address information.
What happens if I accidentally put both?
System shouldn't allow it, so typically, as we expect, there will be only one input box or one input for the information, search criteria.
Okay, so how do I know which one? So I have to do some sort of selection to indicate this is a name search or this is an address search?
Right.
Okay. Okay, do you guys see it, how I draw, trying to get that information? Well, let's talk about actually how many test cases I need to run. Let's count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
8.
8.
Okay, this is called a decision tree method within the requirement. So in order to prove that this requirement works, I have to have all this thing 8 working is expected. Then only I can say that this requirement is met. Actually, can you think of any other thing here?
No, I think that should be, yeah.
So when you come up and say, hey, how many test cases I need, right? Initial guess was 2, 3, but you have to apply the scientific and says, in order to do this, what all I needed. Is good? Everybody understands how we went through it?
So the first one that we did was writing or testing for the case.
So now what you need to do is, for each one of this, you write that entire test case that we talked about.
And you go through the same process with the first one, like the same.
So you start with the requirement, break it down in this scenario.
Yeah. So the reason I gave you an overview of test case first, so that you understand, hey, what it is required, right? So now that you understand, hey, what kind of information I needed to test case, well, what are the different scenarios I need to worry about? So the way you do it is, you take a requirement first, you make a tree like this, called decision tree, right? You figure it out, hey, how many leaves are there? Every leaf on this tree is your test case.
Okay.
So every one of that should have corresponding this thing.
So we have
Okay,
to,
so the same with the first one, you know, the test case was making sure the super user is able to log in. And then on the login, we had the invalid and then the vaccine
Right.
test for all of them. Okay,
So we
That's
did
the
the
small
first one, right? I can log in successfully, that's like 3 different test cases.
okay.
We wrote only one of them.
Okay, so I got
The other
yeah,
two-
okay.
You still have to write, right?
Right, yeah,
But then again, that was a simple case. How did I come up with that number?
okay.
Now, this one, we used it to say, hey, for this one, how do I come up how many I needed?
Okay, alright,
Right, so this one is 8, that one was 3.
alright.
Yes.
What happened to the option either or, like, you know, put that with three?
No, he said that it's not gonna be either, like it's, I can search only on the one thing at a time. I can't have a combination.
So,
If
so,
he were to say that there is a combination, then I have to worry about doing all this individually plus doing for a combination,
Ah.
right? So there's number of test cases exponentially
So
grows
it's
in that
another,
case.
decision tree again.
so requirement is not clear, okay? Whatever requirement we have, it doesn't specify, so that's why Dilip was asking questions. Because it's not clear to me, how would you see it? So they need to update the requirement at some point.
So this is where I was talking about, 3C and a T, right? So this requirement, the way it was written, will not meet 3C and a T. Because it was not specified. Hey, what address means? So he provided the first level method. Great. Now, can I do it either or all of them? The other question I didn't ask him to is, what happens if I enter street address and city and a zip code? All 3 of them.
So preparing the test cases, we talk with the
Right,
business
so-
business team or?
So this one is all data, right? So that's another test case. What happens if I enter all of them?
so we have 9 now?
If the requirement was
No, we didn't cover it. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to, like, let's get through it. Right now, he said that, hey, I can have only the street name or city or a zip code, all display. But if he said clarification that, hey, I can provide any one of them, because remember, address is still, all of those are still valid choice within the address. So I can provide 1, or a 2, or a 3. So I have to get for all those combinations, right? So all data, right? And then you can just say it's 2 inputs, right? So 2 input could be street address and a city, or it could be city and a zip, or it could be a street address and a zip code, right? So there are 3 combinations of that, right? So this will become 3 more test cases. You can see it, how it expands,
Yeah.
based on what is required in the requirement. So in that case, this is a 12 test case scenario. Good.
So, we came up with the 8 test cases, when we write down the modules, name, so we have to write, so those all test cases will be in one.
Yeah, it's still part of the same model, it's still part of, not only same model, it's still part of the same requirement.
Okay, so when we go and fill out the documents, so this one will be on this one, right?
This will still be the same way.
Same.
This will be managed dealer for all of them. And this will be like it's inside it, that you will just increment the number. And you will put the title as depending on whatever you need,
Okay.
right? It just says search dealer by full name, search dealer by providing only partial name. That will be search dealer by providing full street address. Search dealer by providing partial street address. Right, so those are your different scenarios.
This is still in the, on the life circle, this is still the planning or the analysis? When you create this.
Well, do you do anything in planning? In the software development life cycle, in the planning stage, do you do anything as a quality assurance?
No,
No. What do you do in analysis phase we talked about?
we said the tester is part of the analysis, that way they understand how the system works.
Right, so it's kind of analysis phase, you read the requirement, review it, validate it for 3C and T, you provide that estimate. Remember the exercise we did, right? And now I know it and says, hey, now let's go and start designing the system. So while the developers are designing the systems, you are writing this details. So you are in the design phase of the system.
In this document, can we search either by name or address?
Yeah, so here, he just said it's either by address, so anything which is, I'm doing in the red, it's not there. He said he wants it only name or address, within address he wants either street name or city or zip code, but not combination of it. But if you said it could be any of those combinations, then it will be there.